Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we crack open dense documents and extract the golden nuggets of knowledge just for you.
That's the plan.
Okay, imagine this scenario. Sounds like it's ripped straight from a movie script, really. You got a high-powered American executive, a bustling Nigerian construction company, and then, boom, a massive dispute. Allegations flying everywhere. Incompetence, abandonment, millions of dollars in claims and counterclaims.
Yeah, this wasn't just, a simple disagreement. It was full-on legal warfare.
Exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into one single but incredibly rich source document. It's a fascinating judgment from the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, dated September 25, 2018.
And the single judgment, it just lays bare this whole complex, high-stakes international employment battle. It's between an individual, Scott T. Morey, and a company, Cityscape International Development PLC.
PLC, that's a public limited company, right? Meaning its shares can be traded publicly.
Precisely. It adds another layer to the stakes, doesn't it?
It really does. So our mission today is to meticulously sift through this court document. We want to understand the core arguments, from both sides.
See how the judge actually picked through all the evidence.
Yeah, and ultimately discover the crucial lessons. Stuff about contracts, corporate authority, and just the undeniable power of proof in a legal fight.
We're definitely going to uncover some surprising facts and get to the heart of what this all means, especially if you're navigating high-stakes agreements yourself.
Okay, let's set the stage then. How did this epic showdown even begin? What initially kicked things off between this top executive and what sounds like a thriving company?
Well, it all started with Scott T. Morey. He's an American citizen, and he was hired by Cityscape International Development PLC as its chief operating officer, the COO, back in July 2008.
COO, okay. So a really significant position, not just a casual hire.
Oh, definitely not. We're talking substantial compensation, an annual gross salary of $500,000, plus, luxury benefits, a service apartment, a Toyota Prado Jeep.
Okay.
It was clearly a major investment by Cityscape, bringing in international talent for a key leadership role like that.
That is a pretty sweet deal by any standard. It suggests a high level of trust, high expectations.
For sure.
But from what we understand, that trust eroded pretty quickly, didn't it? What was Morey's initial complaint? The thing that set all this in motion?
Yeah, it really did. Morey's central claim was basically that Cityscape just stopped paying him. For 5 months.
5 months, wow.
Yeah. And on top of the salary, he alleged non-payment for true-up bonuses and reimbursable expenses. He calculated it all totaled $209,185.41.
Okay, so nearly $210,000. That's a hefty sum to be outstanding, especially for a COO.
Absolutely. A very serious claim.
And Cityscape, they didn't just say, whoops, our mistake, or even just quietly deny it, did they? How did they react?
Oh, no, not at all. Cityscape didn't just deny the debt. They launched this immediate, fierce counteroffensive.
Yep.
Not only did they deny owing Morey a dime, but they completely turned the tables. They alleged that his incompetence was actually the reason the company was in financial trouble.
So blame the executive. Classic move.
Exactly. And they weren't just asking for, a refund. They were demanding colossal sums from him. It really set the stage for an intense battle.
Okay, so the battle lines are drawn. Morey says, you owe me money. Cityscape says, no, you ruined the company and you owe us money. Let's unpack Morey's side first. How did he present his case?
Okay. Scott Morey, he painted a picture of himself rendering meritorious services, doing a good job, basically.
Right.
But he claimed because the company wasn't paying him, he was put in this impossible position. He felt he had no choice but to resign, which he did on February 9th, 2010.
Did he follow procedure? Give notice.
He stated he gave the mandatory 6 months notice, just like it said in his employment letter. And he actually kept working until April 10th, 2010, despite not being paid for those 5 months.
Commitment or desperation.
Well, in the court documents, he explicitly stated he was completely broke and had spent all his life savings. So yeah, it underscores the personal toll this was taking.
Definitely puts a human face on it. But then something really pivotal happened on that day he stopped working. April 10th, 2010. What was that?
Yes, that's the crucial part. On that very same day, April 10th, Morey and Cityscape, specifically represented by its managing director, Akinwal Ekinuzer, they entered into what turned out to be a game-changing agreement. It was formally presented in court as Exhibit C3.
Exhibit C3. Okay, what did it say?
This document, Exhibit C3, explicitly stated that the company owed Morey that $209,185.41.
Whoa, an admission of debt.
Yeah.
signed by the MD.
Exactly, and that's what's so fascinating here. Morey built his case around specific documented proof. It wasn't just his word against theirs anymore. He had this signed agreement from Cityscape's MD. That's powerful evidence in any court.
Okay, so this Exhibit C3 wasn't just, yeah, we owe you. It actually had a plan attached, a way for him to get some money back.
It did, yeah. Pursuant to this agreement, Morey was authorized to sell his official car, that Toyota Prado, to recover some of the debt.
Did he manage to sell?
He did. Successfully sold it for 4 million naira, which at the time was about $26,666.67.
Okay, so he got some back. What else?
He was also authorized to sublet his official residence, the apartment, for the same purpose, but the record shows he wasn't actually able to sublet it.
So he recovered maybe $26,000, $27,000 from the car sale, but still a huge chunk outstanding. What did he do then?
Well, he calculated the balance. The original sum minus the car sale proceeds came to $182,518.74. He then formally demanded this amount from Cityscape on October 18, 2011.
And did they respond this time?
Nope, crickets. Absolutely no response.
And what about his departure from Nigeria? Cityscape later claimed he absconded, right? How did Morey explain leaving?
That was another key point. Morey claimed he left Nigeria at the end of April 2010, so quite soon after that agreement was signed. He said it was to start a new job in England, but crucially, he argued this was done with Cityscape's full knowledge and consent, not, sneaking away in the night.
Did he have proof of that consent?
Well, his attorney, Victor Graham, actually testified to these facts. He did this via a power of attorney.
Ah, the power of attorney. That's the legal doc letting someone act on your behalf, right?
Exactly. So it allows someone else, in this case his lawyer, to present his side of the story and the facts as he asserted them, even though Morey himself might not have been physically present for all proceedings. It all points to a very documented narrative from Morey's side.
Okay, Morey's story seems pretty well backed up, especially with Exhibit C3. But Cityscape, as we said, had a completely different story. Let's dive into their counterattack. Incompetence, abandonment. What was their angle?
Right. Cityscape painted a starkly different picture. They basically argued Morey was terrible at his job. Their words were things like far below average, grossly lacking in managerial and coordinating skills.
Ouch.
Yeah. They even suggested his impressive resume, the one that got him the $500 K job, was misleading. A direct hit on his professional reputation.
And they didn't just stop at saying he was bad at his job, right? This is where the absconding claim comes in.
You got it. It took a really aggressive turn there. Cityscape flat out denied he resigned properly. They insisted he absconded from his post.
Absconded. That's a strong word.
Very strong. They claimed he took a new job managing director at Alvarez & Marshall's European real estate advisory restructuring practice, and that this was a direct breach of his contract with them. An abandonment, pure and simple.
So they're saying he just walked out. But they also went much further, didn't they? Blaming him for the company's financial problems. How did that play out?
Yes, this wasn't just a minor tiff about his departure. They blamed Morey's, quote, incessant travels, self-induced distractions, and unprofessional conduct, unquote, for the company's entire financial collapse.
The entire collapse. On him.
That was their argument. They claimed this thriving construction company basically tanked because of him. Huge losses, tons of lawsuits, all laid at Morey's feet. It's a classic corporate blame game, isn't it? Things go wrong, find someone to pin it on.
Definitely sounds like it. But what about that crucial agreement, Exhibit C3? The one where their own MD admitted the debt. How did they possibly get around that?
Well, they didn't just ignore it. They attacked its validity head-on. Cityscape adamantly denied owing Morey anything, and crucially, they stated that their CEO, Akinwala Kamizer,
The guy who signed it.
the very same guy, lacked the authority from the board of directors to sign that April 10th, 2010 agreement, Exhibit C3. Therefore, they argued, it wasn't binding on the company.
Wow. So throwing their own MD under the bus, essentially, saying he acted without permission.
That's exactly what it sounds like. A huge argument to make, basically disavowing their own executive signed commitment.
And their counterclaims.
Yeah.
They weren't just asking for small change, were they? What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Oh, the numbers were staggering, truly enormous. First, they demanded $560,000 specifically for his alleged abandonment of his duty post.
Right.
Then another 8 million naira NGN 8 bells and thousand for supposed undisclosed rent sublease because they claimed he was holding over his official apartment after leaving.
Holding over, like staying past his welcome.
Something like that. We're benefiting from it somehow without permission. But the big one, wait for it,
I'm bracing myself.
NGN 500,000, ½ billion naira,
$500 million? For what?
as general damages for the loss of clientele and loss of reputation they claimed were caused by Morey's actions.
Unbelievable.
And it didn't stop there. They added millions more naira for various other lawsuits from companies or individuals like Iwanosa, Guam, Ukachukwu, Global,
Yeah.
which, again, they pinned squarely on Morey's supposed bad performance and conduct.
It's just an avalanche of claims. Talk about an aggressive defense.
Absolutely. No holes barred, clearly aimed at overwhelming Morey and maybe intimidating him.
Okay, so with these incredibly high stakes, huge claims, accusations flying, the court obviously had a massive job sorting this out. Did they face any initial hurdles before even digging into the main arguments?
They did, yeah. The judge had to clear some preliminary stuff first. Cityscape actually tried to get the whole case thrown out right at the start.
On what ground?
They challenged the court's jurisdiction, basically saying, you don't even have the power to hear this case. And they also questioned the authenticity of Morey's power of attorney, the document allowing his lawyer to act for him.
How did the court handle those objections?
Dismissed them
Yeah.
systematically. The court found those initial challenges didn't have merit, which allowed the real trial, the substantive issues, to actually proceed.
Good. So they got past the procedural roadblocks. What about the evidence itself? There was some debate about hearsay, wasn't there? Specifically regarding Morey's attorney testifying via that power of attorney.
Exactly. Cityscape argued that the attorney's testimony based on the power of attorney was inadmissible hearsay, repeating something someone else said outside of court.
But how did the court rule on that? Because documents like contracts are often key.
The court clarified an important point. It stated that documentary evidence, like the power of attorney itself, the employment contract, Exhibit C3, these are generally admissible. They aren't considered hearsay in the same way verbal testimony about what someone else said might be. Official documents stand on their own.
That makes sense. It protects the use of written agreements. But speaking of evidence, this is where Cityscape really shot themselves in the foot, wasn't it, with their own Exhibit D4?
Oh, absolutely. This is a textbook example, really, of how not to present evidence. And it brings up that crucial question. It's not just what you argue, but how you prove it, right?
So what happened with Exhibit D4?
Cityscape submitted Exhibit D4, which consisted of photocopies of various high court processes, basically documents from other court cases.
Okay, sounds relevant if they're trying to link Morey to other lawsuits.
Potentially, yes. But the court rejected them. Why? Because they were public documents, meaning official court records. But Cityscape submitted only photocopies. They weren't certified true copies.
Ah, the certification. You need that official stamp saying it's a genuine copy.
Precisely. You generally can't just walk into court with a stack of photocopies of official records. There are rules, and failing to follow those rules meant a potentially key piece of their evidence was simply thrown out. A major procedural blunder.
That really underscores the importance of getting the details right in legal proceedings. Okay, so their own evidence was flawed. What about their big argument against Exhibit C3 that their MD, Mr. Ekin Muster, didn't have the authority to sign it? Did the court buy that?
Not for a second. The court completely dismantled that claim. It found that the MD did have the authority.
How do they determine that?
Well, crucially, Cityscape failed to provide any actual evidence to back up their claim of lack of authority. They didn't produce the company's memorandum and articles of association, which would outline executive powers. They didn't show any board resolutions specifically forbidding the MD from making such agreements.
So just asserting it wasn't enough.
Not nearly enough.
Yeah.
And the court pointed out something quite logical. The MD had also signed Morey's original employment letter, Exhibit C1. Cityscape wasn't disputing his authority to do that.
Ah, interesting. So if you could hire him.
The implication was strong that he had the authority to manage aspects of that employment, including signing a settlement agreement related to unpaid salary. The court essentially said, you can't prove he didn't have authority, and his previous actions suggest he did.
That's a crucial point for businesses, isn't it? Internal rules are one thing, but proving them legally requires proper documentation.
Absolutely. Don't assume everyone knows who can sign what. Get it documented and be ready to produce that documentation if challenged.
Okay, the authority argument failed. But the evidence against Cityscape didn't stop there. Apparently, there was a real aha moment that came from Cityscape's own written argument.
Yes. This is almost comical if it weren't such a serious case. A huge aha moment for the court came directly from Cityscape's own pleadings, their formal statements submitted to the court.
What did they say?
In their own documents, Cityscape actually stated they had granted the claimant permission to sell off his official car and sublet his official residence to offset some of the money owed him.
Wait. They admitted owing him money while also denying they owed him money and claiming the agreement wasn't valid.
You see the problem. It's a direct contradiction. This statement completely corroborated Morey's story and the existence and intent of that April 10th agreement, Exhibit C3. You can't argue both things at once and expect the court to take you seriously.
Wow. That's a pretty spectacular own goal, legally speaking.
Definitely a major blow to their credibility.
So this leads us to the fundamental question. Who actually breached the contract first? How did the court rule on that?
The court was very clear. It explicitly ruled that Cityscape breached the employment contract first.
How so?
By failing to pay Morey's salary for 5 consecutive months. The court recognized this, especially for a foreign employee likely relying heavily on that income, constituted a fundamental breach of the agreement.
And that matters
because of the first breach principle. Generally, the party who commits the first major breach of a contract can't then effectively sue the other party for actions taken as a result of that breach. Cityscape's failure to pay fundamentally undermined the contract and, in the court's view, justified Morey's subsequent actions, like his resignation and departure.
Okay, so after meticulously going through all this, the evidence, the arguments, the contradictions, the court reached its verdict. What was the final outcome for Morey's original claim?
Morey won. His claim was unequivocally upheld. The court noted that his demand letter for the outstanding $192,518.74 sent after the car sale.
The one they never responded to.
Exactly. That lack of response was critical. The court found that by failing to refute or respond to that formal demand, Cityscape had effectively deemed admitted the debt. Silence, in this context, implied agreement.
So what was the final order?
The judgment ordered Cityscape to pay Scott T. Morey the full outstanding sum, $182,518.74. They were giving 30 days from the judgment date to pay up.
Any interest?
Yes, plus 10% annual interest on that amount until it was fully paid, which adds up, incentivizing them to pay quickly.
A clear win for Morey on his claim. What about Cityscape's massive counterclaims? The $500 million Nigerian damages, the abandonment claim, all that.
All dismissed, every single one. The court just systematically dismantled them based on lack of evidence.
How so? Take the incompetence claim, for example.
No evidence. Cityscape couldn't produce a single official query, warning letter, performance review. Nothing documented to support their claim that Morey was incompetent, just allegations.
And the abandonment claim, the $560,000.
Failed completely. The court found Morey did not abandon his post. Why? Because Cityscape breached the contract first by not paying him, and then, crucially, they consented to his departure as part of that April 10th agreement, Exhibit C3. You can't agree to let someone leave and then sue them for leaving.
Makes sense. What about the other claims? The rent for the apartment, the huge general damages?
Same story. The NGN $8 million claim for holding over the residence. No evidence he actually stayed there after leaving, and no proof of the supposed rental value anyway.
And the big one, the $500 million Naira.
That, along with all the claims related to those other lawsuits, Iwanosa, Guam, Ukachukwu, Maglobal, completely fell apart. The court found something quite damning for Cityscape.
What was that?
Those lawsuits had actually arisen before Morey was even employed by Cityscape.
No way. So they were blaming him for problems that predated him.
According to the court's findings, yes. The judge explicitly stated there was no evidence whatsoever linking those prior issues to Morey's performance. So the NGN $500 million claim and all the related ones were dismissed entirely.
It really is a powerful lesson, isn't it? Justice operates on facts and evidence, not just loud accusations of blame shifting.
Absolutely.
And to add insult to injury for Cityscape, the court awarded costs to Morey, right?
It did. $150,000 honor zero in costs were awarded to Scott T. Morey. That covered both his successful claim and the dismissal of Cityscape's completely unsuccessful counterclaim. A comprehensive victory.
It really was. But this judgment had one more sting in its tail, didn't it? Something quite unusual, the judge commenting directly on the conduct of Cityscape's lawyer.
Yes, this was quite remarkable. It takes the case beyond just the legal specifics and right into courtroom dynamics and professional conduct. The judge included this striking commentary, basically expressing strong disapproval of the conduct of Cityscape's counsel, a Mrs. Obel Kinaranye.
What did the judge criticize specifically?
The judge called out her scathing attack. Those are the judge's words on both the court itself and on Morey's attorney, Victor C. Grom, particularly in her final written arguments.
Attacking the court and opposing counsel, that's bold.
And maybe not wise. The judge highlighted that serious accusations she made against Morey's attorney, things like forgery, doctoring, gold digging, and intimidation.
Wow, serious stuff.
Very serious. But they were never formally pleaded by Cityscape in their actual case documents. If you don't formally raise an allegation in your pleadings, you can't just spring it in your closing argument. It holds no legal weight.
So it was seen as improper argument.
Exactly. The judge went further, noting counsel's apparent poor understanding of the law, procedure, and evidence, and even pointed out that she hadn't actually been present in court during the proceedings herself.
Oof. That's a harsh critique from the bench.
It really is. And it serves as this stark reminder, doesn't it? In any serious dispute, your conduct, your integrity, sticking to the rules of procedure, and backing everything up with solid evidence, that's what matters. Just using rhetoric and throwing insults, that won't win your case.
The judge basically spelled that out, didn't they?
Explicitly. The judgment contains this powerful line. No matter how brilliant the address of counsel, it cannot take the place of evidence. Cases are won on the basis of the admissible, credible evidence, and not on insults hurled at opposing counsel.
A real mic drop moment, as you said earlier.
Right.
Underscores the absolute foundation of the legal system. Evidence matters most.
Couldn't put it better.
So this deep dive into just one court judgment, it really has revealed a dramatic story. International employment dispute, huge sums of money, claims, counterclaims, but ultimately highlighting that critical interplay between contracts, who has authority, and the power of good, solid evidence.
Absolutely. And for you, our listener, there are some really practical takeaways here. First, and maybe most obviously, contract clarity is king.
Definitely.
This whole mess just screams out how vital it is, especially with international deals, to have contracts that are crystal clear in terms of employment, how termination works, payment schedules. Leave no room for ambiguity if you can help it.
Couldn't agree more. Second takeaway.
Authority matters. Remember Cityscape's failed argument. You absolutely have to verify who has the legal authority to bind a company to an agreement. Don't just assume the person you're dealing with, even if they're the MD, has the final say on everything according to the company's own rules.
Yeah, and if you're the company, make sure those lines of authority are clear and documented. The fact the MD had signed the initial contract ended up helping Morey here, but it highlights the company's internal confusion or lack of proof.
Right. Third takeaway, evidence is paramount. We saw it again and again. In any dispute, factual evidence, properly presented, properly certified if needed, that's your strongest weapon. Allegations without proof, like Cityscape's claims of incompetence or the pre-existing lawsuits, they just won't stand up.
Yeah, their failure with the uncertified documents, their contradictory pleadings, it just hammered that home.
And finally, maybe a slightly more technical legal point, but crucial. Remember the first breach principle.
Right, the idea that the party who breaks the contract first is often at a disadvantage.
Exactly. An employer failing to meet a fundamental obligation, like paying salaries for months on end, can legally justify the employee's later actions, like resigning, even if the contract has notice periods. It's a potential defense for employees and a massive warning for employers to uphold their end of the bargain.
So 4 really key takeaways there. Clarity, authority, evidence, and first breach.
In a nutshell. And, in a world just overflowing with information, claims, counterclaims, social media arguments, this case is such a powerful reminder. Truth often isn't found in the loudest voice or the most aggressive accusation.
No, it's found in that meticulous examination of verifiable facts, credible evidence, and logical reasoning, like the court did here.
Precisely.
So the final thought for you to ponder. How does this deep dive, this look at how facts and evidence dismantled huge claims in a formal setting, influence how you evaluate information, how you navigate agreements, big or small, in your own professional or even personal life?
Something to think about next time you hear a one-sided story or sign on that dotted line.
Definitely. Until next time, keep digging deeper.